Hi, my name is Hannah Fonnie, and I'll be teaching childhood obesity to ages 12 through 14, so middle school. And it'll be a mix of boys and girls. So it'll be like a normal health class. And in this class, I want my students to first learn how to summarize obesity. I want them to know the true definition of obesity, not just that someone is overweight or excessively overweight. And this will be under my cognitive and synthesis. Then I want the students, they're going to create a poster. I want them to visually see the effects. And this will be my psychomotor and synthesis. And then I want the learners to verbally present their posters to their peers. This will help them learn the information better themselves. And this will be affective and synthesis. And I think these three factors in my class will help them really learn what obesity is, the ins and outs about it. And we will first start our class off with a lecture and discussion. I will ask the students, what is obesity? I want their definition of it. I don't want the book's definition. I want what they think. And, what health problems are associated with obesity? What do they think you can get? Do you just get big, or is there more to it? Do you get cancer or heart disease or high blood pressure? I want to see what they think or what they've heard. And I want them to give me their ways to prevent obesity. What do they think? How do they think people can prevent becoming obese? Or if someone is obese, how can they change that? Then we'll talk about what causes obesity. Is it genetics? Is it just bad habits? Not exercising? Does it deal with a certain type of person? Mentality? What is it? And, we'll continue to talk about what each is, and we'll have this discussion, and then I'll bring up more questions like, what age group does it affect? Does it affect more children than them, or adults? Does it affect teenagers? Does it affect a certain ethnicity? Does it affect certain race? Gender? What is it? Tall people, short people? All these different things, And then I want them to tell me, why is obesity becoming a big problem, Is it because people are becoming more lazy or becoming more technological savvy here in the United States? What is it? What do they think? And, how can someone who is obese change? How can they change from being obese to becoming smaller, I guess you would say, or skinny, or more physically fit? And I want their opinion of obesity. We'll talk about all these factors, and then after we talk about it, I want them to tell me what they think obesity truly is. And this will be my lecture discussion. It'll be linguistic, and we'll talk about it. And then after that, I'll give a PowerPoint presentation with answering these questions. What is the book answer, or things like that. Information that they're going to have to need for the posters. And, we'll talk about what obesity truly is. Excess body fat. What factors, environmental and just mental. We'll talk about body mass index and the scale for that being obese. We'll talk about the conditions. We'll put a big emphasis on the conditions, because they're going to have to use that for their PowerPoint. What effects come from being obese, such as the diabetes and strokes, and not just your physical and internal, but mental and psychological effects of being obese. And once we do that, I'll take any questions. If anybody doesn't have any questions, we'll then move on. This will probably take about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much of an discussion we get. And after that, I'm going to break them up into about 4 to 5 groups, depending on how many people we have that day. And what they're going to do is they're going to make a poster. So this will be our individual group project, and it'll be interpersonal. And what they're going to do is they're going to create a poster with the effects of obesity. And the effects can range from the psychological effects, such as depression, anxiety, low quality of life, low self-esteem, low body difficulties in action. Then they can go to the main effects like cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, strokes, heart disease, high blood pressure, things like that. Or they can go to social effects, such as low friends, low job opportunities, low school acceptance, things like that. I want them to be creative. I don't want to post it with just bullets of each effect. I want them to give me details about it, or make a cartoon or a comic strip, or cut and paste different things. And they will have art supplies available And they will have magazines to cut from. I'll have some books from the library I'll check out they can use, or I'll have a couple computers available. And, they're going to have to be creative with it. I want them, they don't have to do all of them. They can pick one. They at least have to have one on their poster. And they've got to, describe it to them. I got to put it on that poster and really inform the viewers of what this effect on obesity is. And I want to be creative. Everyone has to be involved, and I will be monitoring in class. I'll be walking around, checking, asking for questions, making sure everyone's behaving. If someone is not behaving, I'll take the right measure to discipline them, depending on what they've done. And, I'll just double check on them. While they're doing this, I will have my PowerPoint up with a couple different slides on the effects, what is obesity, and some figures that have certain effects on them. Like it tells you cancers and stroke, and it depicts kind of what part of your body would gain more weight than the other. Especially for men or women, it's going to vary depending on you and your height, size, and all that. I'll give them about 10 to 20 minutes, so this will take over probably about 30 minutes of our class I'll give them 10 minutes to make their posters. If need be, I will give more time. After that, they will present. So this is going to be their individual group project, but it's going to be visual. And this is where they're going to present their posters to their peers. So now they're repeating the information they've just learned. So it's going to help them to learn information even more. And they'll see more visual things. So that's going to help them too. Especially if someone thinks of a real creative way to present their information or design it on their poster, it's going to stick out in the student's brain. Each group will present. Everyone has to be involved in some sort of way. Whether it's reading, you're acting out, it doesn't matter. Everyone has to be doing something. It can't just be one person reading the whole thing. And after that, they will we will hang the posters around the classroom. And we're going to take questions after this. We're going to talk about what we just learned. And after that, I will put up a PowerPoint presentation of what we just talked about. Review this information. Make sure it's sticking in their head. And they'll have about 10 to 15 minutes left of class, depending on how long the posters take. And we're going to review all the information we've just learned from what is obesity and then effects. And then we're going to move into prevention of obesity. And we're going to talk about ways to prevent obesity. I don't want them to tell me, you exercise, you're going to prevent. That doesn't tell me much. I want them to tell me what kind of exercises is good, what kind of exercises they should do, or what else should they do. We're going to talk about healthy eating plans, such as calorie intake, portion size, what you eat. You may say you cook, but you may cook all the wrong foods. What foods are better than others? And we're going to break it down a little bit. Then we're going to talk about, physical activity, exercise, brisk walking, bike riding, rollerblading, running, weightlifting, all things that, are cardiovascular, that are going to get your body going, that are going to be beneficial for you. We're going to really emphasize ways to prevent. Then we're going to talk about maybe like their daily lifestyle and how that's going to affect them and the choices that they make. It might not be, they might try to eat right, but they might not eat all the way right. Or talking about fast food and laziness, getting sleep. All these little factors that play a big role in obesity. After that, we're going to review everything. We're going to review what all we did today. We're going to talk about obesity and how it is a condition with excess fat and how it is classified with the BMI. Then we'll break it down and we're going to talk about the effects of obesity. We'll talk about the ones that are real crazy, like heart disease and stroke, that can impact you can be pretty serious, to type 2 diabetes. But if you lose weight, you might not be diabetic anymore. We talk about that. There you can get some cancers and, sleep apnea and different things. We're going to talk about the social effects of losing jobs or job opportunities. A job might be hiring between you and another person, and you're obese and the other person is physically fit. And, they're going to think, well, we have to meet with clients. Who are they going to want to meet? They're going to want to talk to someone who is obese, or they're going to want to see someone who is physically fit and well presented. You got to think about things like that. And then just obesity, how it plays a factor on your self-esteem. You can't do everything that someone else can do. You're limited, so you can't run as long, or you can't walk as long, breathing heavy, all these little things that kind of play a role in being obese. Then we'll talk about the prevention. We're going to talk about healthy eating the choices you make, the calorie intake, portion size. You can't overdo your portions. If you're eating right and you do too many portions, that's just hurting you either way. And then we'll talk about physical activity, what activity is good. You don't want to just walk the same pace 5 minutes every day. You're not going to get anywhere. You need to kind of bump it up or change it up a little bit. You need the more you walk, you need to increase the more you walk. And we're going to just review all these 3 components. So in my lesson, I will have my students be able to summarize what obesity is. Then their next they're going to present and create posters to the class. This way they're going to learn the information better from repetitive and visual. And this should take up most of the class time, pretty much all of the class time. We'll review and take questions at the end. Probably no homework. So, well, this was my lesson on childhood obesity for ages 12 through 14, both boys and girls.